Welcome back to the Win with Dice podcast, a podcast featuring members of the Win with Dice team. I'm Calvin, and I'm joined here by Ramon.
Hey!
And this week, we're also joined by our special guest, Tim, who's been running our Lost Mine of Phandelver campaign.
Hello!
Woot woot.
So, yeah, we're going to get into that. We're going to catch up on that campaign. We got a couple of sessions we can talk about, and then we're just going to, catch up with Tim and his DM experience and how that's been going over the past few months since you started running this campaign, because you started running it this year, right?
Yeah.
And it's been a few sessions of it.
Yeah, we've had 9 sessions so far, so that's going pretty well.
Yeah. Every time we just have like a blast Tim, playing in that game.
You're like one of our DM babies. Yeah, Tim, you're like one of our DM babies.
Well,
I don't know if that's a term I would use.
Because if you guys, what would we call you guys? It would be like our
I don't know.
You're like our DM senpais. I forget what it is called for underclassmen.
DM babies works because it was on the Mother's Day episode. Calvin was like, "I'll be your mother for the day," and
that's true. That is true. I forgot to say it for Father's Day, but it also applies.
That's okay. Ramon can be daddy for Father's Day.
I definitely. I think I have a lot of daddy vibes. I'm kind of an idiot, but I do come through when it counts.
Neat.
It's basically what fathers are, right? Well, yeah. If you're new to the channel,
oh gosh,
this is not a parenting channel.
No, not yet anyway.
This is a channel all about running and playing tabletop RPGs and having fun with your friends and rolling some dice and winning with that dice, because we never actually say win with dice, and that's why we have the channel named that way.
Yeah, we don't say it until the end of the episode.
No, we don't. I feel like we should say it all the time. Maybe we should just say it all the time.
Just really drill it in.
Yeah, you got to do it. But I'm not going to take credit for your game. I'm having tons of fun in it, Tim. But I think since we started the podcast, really the point of it was to really show people that, running your own game isn't hard. I mean, it's hard, but it's not something that you can't accomplish. Yeah, right. It's not impossible, right? If a couple of idiots from Canada can do it, you should do it. And we wanted to take real world or real DM experiences and kind of show you guys that it's what we actually have to put together to run a game or create a storyline or an NPC or any of that fun stuff that might seem intimidating the first time you do it, but it's really rewarding. So yeah, sorry, Tim. I need to call you a baby. But
it's good with me. I've been called worse.
But no, I honestly I think you're one of my favorite DMs that I ever got to play with. So yeah, man, it's great.
That's a huge compliment. Well, thank you very much, and I'm I'm really glad you guys are enjoying it as much as I am. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. But before we get into Tim's game, we gotta do something first.
Yeah, before we get to that topic, we gotta do that thing we do every week, the weekly Win with Dice GM tip of the week.
Yeah.
With the accompanying theme song.
Hooray.
So, Ramon, since this is normally your responsibility, I do sometimes like to throw it onto the guest, but I also really like just last minute, Ramon, you coming up with something. So, do you have a tip this week?
Yes, I do. Actually, from our friend Rebecca, since she messaged us on Twitter about organizing her campaign, and we're gonna talk about campaign organization. I guess this is a tip for keeping your stuff straight. Use digital tools like OneNote, or I know there's lots of online tools like Campfire and the other one I can't remember the name is, but just generally technology's here. Please, you could run your game from paper and pen or whatever you want to, but I just find it super easy to have some sort of place to dump a bunch of information in, and it makes working on a campaign, especially one that is homebrew. To keep everything straight, you jot down your ideas. Just have like a OneNote, or like a Google Doc would even work. Something that's like titled out with like these linked up with like NPCs over here, locations over there, like everything. So when those moments of like the players kind of go off the rails of something that you didn't really prepare for during the session, you can easily just search your file or whatever for whatever you need, and pull it out and seem like a really cool smart DM, being like, yes, I know everything, but really I'm just really good at search optimization.
Yeah, basically.
Right.
Yeah, it is useful when you have something you can open in like multiple tabs and stuff like that, and notes that are at least vaguely organized. It's not like a requirement, but it does make your life a whole lot easier if your players like they go into a town and you already have like just like a couple of names, a couple of shops. There's someone in the party who's going to want a magic shop to just like have a name of a magic shop. And if you don't use it, then that's fine. You can keep it in that town. If they come back, you can use that name later if you want to. It's just really a matter of what do you want to prepare ahead of time so that you don't have to like improvise it at the table. Is sort of what it comes down to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can definitely recommend some
honestly,
digital
you
tools.
could probably run whole.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can you can run whole sessions from like a spreadsheet. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I'll just have like a Google sheet open, and I'll just like fill out a bunch of like Excel squares and be like, yep, that's it.
Yeah, I could not do that. That's not nearly enough for me. I need like NPC section, I need location section, I need this session notes. So yeah, I use OneNote. Yeah. I know there's World Anvil that other people use. I heard of someone using like a script writing program that I forget the name of.
World
that seemed really weird.
Anvil, that's the one.
World
Anvil.
Anvil.
I forgot about that one.
That's what I've definitely thought about.
Yeah.
I think it has more of like a wiki-like structure, and I kind of wanted to use their map tool, but I'm kind of, invested with OneNote right now, just because I can use it on my computer and on mobile as well. Tim, do you have any digital tools that you? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I was just gonna ask Tim if you have any digital tools you might use for keeping notes and things like that, or.
Man, I don't want to admit it now. You guys have just been saying all that. I just scramble things down into Notepad at the end of a session. It's just chaos now. I think about it.
I mean, that's fine too, especially if you're working with a module, because you do have some of that support there.
That is true. Oh, I would not know. I wouldn't. If this was like a fully original campaign I was running, I would not be able to do it like this. But I am hoping to do some original campaigns in the future. So I will have to take up your guys' advice.
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly recommend OneNote. If you're, for me originally it's because I was on the go a lot. So I'm on the bus. I think it's something I need something I can easily get to on mobile, and that was the best tool for that I found. But whatever works for you, or whatever software you might already be used to, definitely just go with that.
No, it sounds good. Sounds like it's a good idea. It's definitely something I'll have to invest more time into planning when I'm ready for that.
Yeah, I think you can definitely do that. Or even if you just have ideas and just write them down, that's useful too, because then you at least have those to fall back on. Ramon, you were just saying.
Yeah, don't be like me. I'll say don't be like me. Don't just have strange epiphanies at 3 a.m. and being like, I'll remember this 2 weeks from now.
You always feel like you will, and then you never do. It never works that way.
I would argue I remember about 70% of my epiphanies. So, I have a pretty good track record.
Oh, I'm jealous.
But that's definitely gonna decline with age. So, I gotta write stuff down more.
I know for sure I'll forget something in 5 minutes if I don't put it somewhere.
That's true. All right, cool. Yeah, so that's the the Win with Dice weekly GM tip of the week, folks. Right there. Let's jump into the episode.
All right.
Tim,
yeah, we got a lot of ground we want to cover,
game.
and we definitely want to talk to Tim a whole lot. Yeah. We want to spend all of his time. So let's get into the recaps of the last 2 sessions of our Lost Mine of Phandelver campaign. So previously in this campaign, the last time we talked about it was a few episodes ago, and it ended with us having a discussion with a necromantic wizard who had taken up residence near the well of a nearby town that they really needed for their water supply. So we were trying to get him out of there. He wanted a few favors from us. And as we were going back to discuss those favors, we happened to bring along not only our party's wizard, who is also a cowboy, but we brought along his deputy, this talking, intelligent rat, who was able to help us negotiate a deal with Hammond, this necromantic wizard. And again, I gotta say, had a whole lot of fun in that session. Tim, really glad that you rolled with that whole talking rat thing, because that was super funny. It was some
Really
super lucky
appreciate
rolls.
Gotta do it.
So yeah, we got that dealt with, and then we set for a short travel. We stopped for some rest, and then there was some wind around Silrona as he was being resummoned to, I don't know, wherever he disappears to when Ron can't make it for a game. Some sort of cowboy dimension or something.
The call of the horse and the, I don't know actually know anything with cowboys, but like
They heard the call of the West.
Call of the West, and I was like, the West, yeah.
So yeah, he disappeared in a flash of dust with a whip crack noise. Teeks was barely able to grab Deputy, because, I just wanted to keep Deputy around. I didn't know what to do with him, but I wanted to keep him around. So yeah, we grabbed him, and there was just like last time, there was a single horseshoe left behind, but now we understood, like, he's just gonna come back where the horseshoe is. We understand this now. Sort of.
Yeah.
So yeah, we rested up. Teeks tried to like get Deputy to rest with her, but he was with Kavo at the time, so she was just on her own. But it was mostly a quiet night, save for the scent of death in the air. Because there was a necromancer nearby.
Yeah.
But yeah, we woke up in the morning, had a cute moment with Deputy as he's like pulling the horseshoe around with his tail. I thought that was pretty fun. And then we passed through the ruined village of Coneybury, which apparently was empty due to some recent orc raids. We patched ourselves up at the time, found some stuff, but this is when we were getting closer to dealing with a banshee that we had sort of been set on to. I think Haman also had an interest in the banshee or some information from it, but we originally got the quest from, and I am blanking on her name, and I'm going through my notes, the name of the cleric.
Sister Gorel.
Sister Gorel, yes. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we got that information from Sister Gorel, who wanted us to go talk to this banshee, bring a silver comb along, so that we could get some, information from her. Which was, so the banshee thing was something we were talking about for a while. I don't know. It was like our first thing that we heard of that was like a significantly higher encounter that we had to come across. Because there was the that one-eyed creepy dealie that we came across in the underground base of the Red Brands, but we didn't really expect that. So, we sort of knew there was something down there, but we didn't know what to expect. This was the first time that we were like, oh no, there's for sure a banshee there. It's for sure way stronger than us. We have to think of something so that we're not fighting this creature. We've got a bigger thing to deal with now that we can get into on the recap for the next session. But yeah, so we're just preparing to go into there, and it ended up being more of a social encounter, fortunately for us. Also very fortunately for us is that Kavo, our half-orc, is very good at being formal and polite. So we came across this really cool...
What?
Yeah, he talks to, powerful dragons a lot, so he's
Really?
good at knowing when to... when to genuflect when it comes to talking to someone of high standing and high power.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't know that. I missed that session, so cool.
Yeah. So it was largely like Teeks and Kavo, mostly Teeks standing behind Kavo and letting him talk the whole time. But we were able to recover the important information we needed from this banshee, who was also super weird, but fortunately was also into perfume. And then she said some creepy stuff to Teeks, which, I was a bit nervous about. She seemed to know a few things about Teeks' history, or at the very least recognize what Teeks' whole deal was. So yeah, I was planning to go back there at some point. I would need more fancy perfume. But yeah, so we got that information. We headed out. Kavo gave a very polite bow, to which she nodded approvingly, which is good for us. So we didn't have to worry about fighting. So yeah, we left, we camped, we traveled. I do like every time that we travel, our ranger likes to go hunting, which is something that I never really had to deal with before. But yeah, he goes hunting, gets some supplies and stuff. We did have Haman rummage through our items at some point. I wrote down that Tim did some sound effects for that. I don't remember what they were because this was a while ago, but I wrote it down and I highlighted, so they must have been really, really good.
I don't know about sound effects. It was just more like just general voice acting for Haman.
I think you might have rummaged through something in real life to replicate the sound or something like that.
Oh, I think I did actually. Now you're right. I think he was flipping through some scrolls, and I picked up a couple of. In fact, the actual Lost Mine of Phandelver guide and storybook, and I was there, held it up to the mic and started flicking through the pages. Sort of noise, and then rummaging through, so I've got the dice next to me and I'm scattering them in my hand. Yes, no, I completely forgot about that, honestly. I didn't think it was even worth... Yeah.
I don't know, I think I found it really entertaining at the time, so I wrote it down. But yeah, nice. While there, we passed along the stuff that Haman wanted to know. He was a bit surprised about it because he heard about some... I think it was to do with some necromancer a century or so ago. And Haman wasn't expecting to hear about this person in this area. And then he was also super rude. So, we left, taking our rat and our horseshoe along. We did get ambushed by some wolves during the travel, at which point our ranger dropped their crossbow, that they have all sorts of abilities for, in order to do an unarmed punch, which is... somehow every single time way more effective than anything that they are supposed to be doing.
I would argue that Bren has taken down more people with his fists than anything else.
There's not an argument to be made there. It's in the stats. It is 100% the case. Yeah, I should, I've not thought about this before. I should probably check Bren's character sheet to make sure there's not an error being made on the ranged attacks rolls.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I think I might have tried to look at it myself, because if you hover over someone's roll on Roll20, you can see what it's adding and everything. But I don't know. I kind of just like how it always works out. I hope the sheet is correct, because I really like the idea that Bren is just.
It's not even. Yeah, it's not even the fact that Bren is it's just Bren's not only missing with their bow and arrow shots. They're just Bren is just critting on all of his punches. The amount of 20s rolled on Bren's punches, it's crazy.
It really is.
Oh man, it really is. It's quite a lot, and I'm all about it. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the emergent story that comes from the rolling of dice.
It's definitely emerging to something ridiculous, for sure. Or it has emerged into something ridiculous. Yeah.
It's already ridiculous.
All about Bren. Totally into it.
So yeah, we keep traveling. We came across some sturges, which kind of swarmed us for a bit, but we were able to deal with those and returned to the town of Phandelver, where, we caught up on some things. We heard there might have been a few red brands still around to deal with. But the most important thing that happened is Teeks gave the rat a bath and he could still talk. Which was a surprise. It was a surprise to me because I thought he needed the wizard around to be able to do that. But apparently not. Apparently he could just do that.
Yeah, he's his own person. I didn't teach him law.
Well, fair enough. I don't know why I thought otherwise. So yeah, I guess Teeks let Deputy bathe on his own. Because everyone was taking a turn in like the bathroom, so I guess Deputy got his own turn and Teeks had to wait. But we were at an inn, we rested well. We did, going into the next day, we did something that I really liked, which was that we were all splitting up to do different things. I mean, I like everything here, but so this thing specifically, because we did it a couple times after, we just rolled initiative as we all split up, and then Tim, you were like cycling through everyone's initiative number to deal with all the things that we were doing. So Teeks and Fallum went to catch up with Sister Gorel and report what was going on. Bren was going to sell some pelts. Calvo was getting some runes at a blacksmith who had mentioned that they hadn't done any runing for a while. And then, yeah, we were all just like separate and doing our own thing. Sister Gorel, who is part of the Harper Agency, offered us some secret missions. And Teeks got a cool code name. Fallum didn't seem to be interested unless there was pay involved. But I definitely want to see where this is going. And I think Teeks would be up for it, so yeah, I'll see where that goes. Sister Gorel did give her a mission to deal with Harbin, so if we can deal with that, Harbin being the town mayor, currently at least. So we'll see where that goes. Bren was Bren was just doing his shopping. He had to deal with he was also catching up with Halia about everything going on in town. Halia being the one who runs I think she runs the mining company, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's right.
And Calvo had a rather interesting encounter with a bartender who was surprisingly flirty towards him. But apparently he was not very comfortable with that and ran away as soon as he could.
Oh man, Calvo.
You did miss one hell of a session,
sexy
Ramon.
man. I know, apparently. I'm like a little sad. Like, what? All those fun things happened and I was doing hard labor. So sad.
Yeah, man.
That's okay. It sounds I'm glad that Deputy was around to keep the memory of Silrona alive.
Keep an eye on all of us.
Yeah,
Calvo, he was looking for like a way out, and he tried to make an excuse that he was already taken or something, but he rolled a 1 on that deception, so really didn't work out in his favor. I think that was also the bar we were planning to go to like make our plans for what we're gonna do next, so it was also super awkward. But yeah, so that was like the session that you, Ramon, had missed, and then we got into the next one afterwards. Which we were sort of getting into it it was a few days since Silrona was gone, just with all our travel and everything. But he was able to reappear, for some reason wearing gardening equipment, because he was fighting plants.
Yeah, every time every time Silrona comes back, I just kind of say whatever kind of real world thing I was doing at the time. So it was like, I don't know, like I was doing a lot of gardening because I was fixing up my outside of my house. But yeah, I was like, oh hey, Silrona's back, but instead of like his in his holsters, it's instead of like his wands or whatever, it's like his gardening tools, and he's wearing like a gardening apron and like a sun hat because he was like on like a plant plane, and he was fighting a bunch of sentient plants, so you gotta bring gardening tools. That makes sense,
Of course.
so yeah. Of course,
Sure.
right? Yeah, of course. So yeah, he's back, but he changed out of his gardening attire back into his cowboy attire.
Of course. Yeah, I really want to see you multi-class into gunslinger or something once that class is out, because it's only in
Definitely.
like playtest right now. I'm really excited for that.
If Tim's cool with that, I'm definitely
100%.
would like to have a gun. Yeah, cool, awesome.
So yeah, look forward to that. But yeah, we were going to set out because we wanted to find a druid who could help us on our main quest, which was helping this person named Gundren, who was in the middle of looking for the legendary Wave Echo Cave, but had been captured by, I believe it was by the goblins. So we had to go find him, and we were going to get some help from a druid. So, you know, we set out for travel, we stopped for watch, just like normal, you know, travel and watching stuff, and sometimes things show up. Tim, I know you're using like a random table now for the, or you were using it before rather, for the traveling and if stuff happens and how we have to deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's been the case all along, but you guys are traveling much more now, so you're getting more encounters come along.
Yeah. Which is great, because stuff always happens during those encounters. Like the sturges that smelled like a burned chicken wing.
Yeah. So yeah, we fought some sturges, right? And I think everybody got like a cool moment during that fight too.
Yeah,
it was all like.
I do have a note here that Bren and Fallum, they had a cool high five after punching some bugs, and then their hands were all messy.
Well, I mean, I think one of them had just like punched and squeezed one of these things to death, so it exploded in their hand, and it's like you're in the middle of a field. What are you gonna clean that hand on? There's no, you know, public facilities with some toilet paper around.
Nope. They were just messy. I don't know. That was fun. I like their bromance they got going on there. That's fun.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome actually. I'm like into that.
So yeah, we rested up. We got some traveled a couple of days, and then there was another attack by an owl bear, and everybody was making a bunch of puns and jokes. Someone said bear with. I didn't write down who said what. I just wrote down that someone was like bear with me. Someone said who knows, as in like who, as in like an owl sound. I'm pretty sure it was Chibi who said it's a hoot. We got a scoot.
Entire. I didn't know owl bears were so punny. Like.
Yeah, because you can do owl puns and bear puns.
Yeah, it's best of both worlds. They should just have more, like, that's what D&D needs. They need more combination animals that are also punny.
Of course. That's what it's missing. But yeah, there were also, after we defeated this owl bear, we also found traces of an orc in its stomach, which, you know, could be Tix's orc friend from a few sessions ago, but I choose to believe that it's not.
You can choose that.
Because we have no proof that it is.
We'll never know.
But you do know that you specifically like encouraged him to go off and try and fight an owl bear.
Yeah.
What do you want me, bro?
He might have had some decent luck with it. There's no proof that it's him. It's just very, very likely. But yeah, after that encounter, we went on to Thunder Tree, which had been devastated 30 years ago by the eruption of a nearby volcano, and then a zombie plague that like drove out the survivors. So kind of had some bad luck in that area. But we were able to find
place got wrecked.
It's just two things.
Just two things? Oh yes. A volcano erupted.
Well, there was also magic that affected the plant life, and some giant spiders, and a young green dragon.
Yeah, these people are like, we can't live here anymore. It's too crazy. Not about that.
Too much stuff going on. But yeah, we did find Radoff, who originally thought we were there to harm him, but we weren't, and we were able to like talk, and he explained, you know, everything that was going on in the area. And also that he could tell us how to find or tell us the location of the Wave Echo Cave. Or, sorry, no, he would take us there. He wouldn't tell us the location, he would take us there. If we were able to prove ourselves, which sort of meant dealing with various things in town. So this is another situation where we had to split up the gang to deal with several things, because there was some, like, buildings to investigate. There were some people in masks who were hanging around. There were some giant spiders around. There was that dragon around. So we all kind of split up. We had a plan to team up, and the plan lasted about 1 second, and then we just all went in different directions.
Yeah, it was very much like like, okay, we're gonna stick together, and then immediately we all went in different directions. Like we all dragged our characters somewhere else on the map. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, and sort of the benefit of having
Oh,
like
man.
this virtual tabletop is that we could all just move independently. So we ended up
Yeah.
just moving in different places. Silrona ran off, and Bren was able to catch up with him. Silrona, being a cowboy, kicked down a door, his second one of the day, and found some zombies inside. Thalum and Teeks went to investigate a nearby ruin, and we found some pointy plant creatures. Calvo went to another location where he ended up encountering some spiders, and then we just kind of went into combat as we were like cycling through all these individual battles that were,
Yeah.
I don't know, kind of rough. kind of.
Yeah, well, I didn't actually expect them to be like fights. Like I thought there was like, oh, maybe one or two, and there might actually be a fight. But like in my head, being like my DM brain is like, yeah, it wouldn't make any sense to have like every building be like a death encounter, and I was so wrong. Like, I was like 100% wrong. I know that we had a Bren and Sorona had a good time beating up some zombies. Like they were pretty chill, but Teagues and Fallum, you guys got wrecked by a bunch of plant dudes with like splinter shotguns apparently.
Look, man, they're really hard.
Jeez, man. Yeah, that was a little rough. I was like, it's all fun and games up in the north side of town, but like, in the southern part where you guys were, it was just like, ugh.
Calvo, he was trapped in a web for a bit. He was able to get out of it and just like smash up some spiders. But yeah, we had a rough time of it. But we were eventually able to succeed. And we kind of just like, we finished off there with a few things still to go. We do have some more locations to search out. We didn't find those people in the masks. And we do know that there's a dragon nearby. And part of me is like, oh man, that'd be really cool to deal with that thing. But also, having recently GM'd a session where the players were fighting a character equivalent to a young dragon, and are higher level than we are right now, I can't say that I want to fight this thing, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I think if someone wants to talk to this thing, I mean, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, hopefully we can. But
Yeah.
who knows how that's gonna. We
hopefully
do have
it's not just
Cabo
like-
around, who is good at talking to dragons. So
Well, I mean, if Carver
Yeah.
can't help you, then you gotta hope that you guys just win with those dice.
aha.
Yeah. Nice.
We really do have to hope so, because we do not want to tangle with this guy.
Dude, man. I don't want to do it. I mean, I kind of want to do it too. It'd be pretty fun, but I don't think we'll last very long.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where we're at right now.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know how much of this is like specifically canon to the Mines of Phandelver like module or adventure or whatever. Certainly not our own like specific stuff that's been going on. But yeah, like again, I'm just having a whole lot of fun in these sessions. Just want to catch everyone up to where we're at plot wise. I'm sure people who have done this already know certain things about it, but again, the great thing about using an adventure is that it's still always going to be different. No matter what you do, just approaching something with different people or even with different characters, you're going to end up with different results. Like, there's no other campaign in the world that has Deputy in it. So,
Yeah. I mean, I'd be pretty impressed if somebody spontaneously generated Deputy the exact same way. But yeah.
that would be funny, but I'm sure it hasn't happened.
All right, well,
But yeah, that's where we're at.
yeah.
Tim, did you want to say anything else about like the campaign plot-wise before we jump into like the discussion parts? Or
I guess so, only because you just mentioned where you say you're not sure how much is part of the original thing and what I'm doing. Pretty much, most of this is what is. I'd say all of this is what's in the original campaign. The only things that's different are where I need to tweak something because it's gone from D&D to Pathfinder to make sure it's something that you guys are familiar with, or whether it's something that you guys have come up with and I've incorporated it into the plot, or there's been a couple of occasions where I've thought I don't like that, I need to change it to something else, but those are usually relatively minor. The Hamon cost line is part, for example, is part of what is in the book, but he wasn't an archaeologist, he was just a wizard who was there. And I'm like, well, I kind of want a reason for him to be there rather than just he's a dude with a bunch of zombies hanging around. No one wants to know about the place. So I'm like, well, you know, let's have him doing an excavation, and he's interested in the site, and the whole sort of, I've got this like writ from, so I think you've discussed it before. He's basically like, oh yeah, I've got this deed that shows me I'm entitled to this plot of land, and then when you inspected the deed, it was, no, he's entitled to the land around this well, but not actually the well itself, where he's digging it up, and he's like, yeah, but you know, I've got 2 miles in each direction, no one's gonna know because they can't get here, which you guys discovered. I don't know, that to me was just like, it was funnier, but it also gave him a legitimate interest in being an encounter for you to have, rather than just someone who's in the story.
Oh wow, yeah, that is way better.
I really like that. Yeah. That's way better. Yeah, totally. Damn, Tim, you should just tell everybody to do that in Lost Mines if they ever like don't know what to do with this dude.
Yeah, I mean, it's close enough. It was just like, it didn't seem like he had much of a great reason for being there as I was reading it. You know, maybe I read it in a different way to someone else. But the same with. I mean, you could say the same with anything that you go through. It's like, oh, I can change this to be something, because that definitely worked for you guys, but someone else might read this and be like, oh no, my players aren't going to enjoy that kind of thing, and they'll either stick with this or they'll do something else instead, and that's cool too.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely worked even that reason, because it tied into like, oh, he wants some more information, so we'll pass along some stuff from the Banshee, and it's like, well, maybe if you find what you're looking for, we can get you out of here, or something like that. It just definitely made it way better that he had a reason to be there, because it became part of how we could negotiate with him, rather than him just
we
being
could play
there.
off that, right? Yeah, it's just like, it's easier to play off of your character, like that whole character interaction, right? That whole conversation is just like, we know why you're here, right? We can, you know, like deal with the problem or whatever issue that, you know, to get this guy out of here better than just like, I'm into magic stuff. Magic stuff is here, I guess.
Yeah, definitely like another avenue of discussion with him. Yeah, that's okay. Well, that's cool. I didn't know that.
I've just gone into the book just to double check it, and it's like, all it says is just, the ruins are occupied by a mage who's going around the site hoping to find a bit of lore left behind, and that's it. So I was like, no, it's going to be a full-on excavation site. He's got the zombies there digging away with the shovels and everything else. So that was, and then took it that way rather than just he's a guy who's having a look around.
Interesting. So, I fully thought that was just in the writing, like that was just the module. I did not know that you just made you added that in, right? So yeah.
I mean, the Agatha's Lair thing was pretty much set as exactly that. In that, she was just supposed to be like, okay, you give her the silver comb, well, she's a bit vain, so she'll go for it, and then you're only supposed to get one question and one answer. But then it's like, well, she's vain, and you guys are offering her some perfume, so it's like, yeah, I figure that can work. So just because it says it only does one thing, go with the flow of what your players are asking. It's not unreasonable, so let's give it a try.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, awesome, cool. Yeah, like totally down with that. I think modules are great frameworks to have a good session, but you gotta kind of mold it into what you think is your version of this, right? Like like running modules, you should never run modules, in my opinion, like to the T, right? I mean, they do a lot of background work for you, so you don't have to come up with the names and the locations and the general storyline, but like all these little stuff is like in the moment, how would this character like act and feel and make it like the module kind of come alive, right? That's all like down to the DM. So yeah, no, this is why I think this is awesome. I love playing your game because all this little stuff just kind of adds up to like a really fun experience for me as a player.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not doing a lot of changing. It's just little tweaks where it's like this thing doesn't sit right, or this thing's going to be a bit inconvenient, or whatever else. So I'm not gonna try and take credit for stuff I'm not doing. So, but I am doing those bits, and I'm glad that those are going down well with you, and it's not things where I'm also glad that I'm fitting it into the story, so you guys aren't, oh, here's this thing that Tim's just added. You know, it's all seamless. So that's nice to know.
Yeah,
it really is seamless. Like, man, I'm just like, it feels so weird. It's been so long. Like I say, it's been so long to being a player, but I think like since the last year, I've been a player the most I have been in like 10 years. So it's like, oh yeah, this is all still feels really new, not knowing what's around the bend. So yeah, man, it's going great. I'm having a blast. But yeah, so we had here, like we had a, you know, we're touching on, you know, how close you follow the module, so you're following it pretty close. But again, we're playing Pathfinder 2E, and the module is in like 5E, right?
Yeah.
It's meant for 5E.
Yeah.
So how do you find converting it? I know that you've been doing it for a while now, so has it gotten any easier?
Yeah, definitely. Early on, very difficult. I was messaging you guys, because I mean, you guys were the ones who got me into doing this, as we've said before. Previously in episode 27, for those who need to catch up.
We'll link to it. Yeah.
So I just thought I'd just plug yourselves while I was here. Yeah. So I was constantly asking you guys for help, and it is now I've got a basic understanding of what's going on. I can build on that. I'm generally a pretty slow learner at things, but I now understand most of the basics, most of the groundworks. It's like, okay, I need to look up this thing. And I'm also at the point where I'm like, these stats seem too hard now. Whereas earlier on, it was fine because everything's pretty easy. So, for example, the twig blights, twig jacks, whichever it was, that you were just fighting. In D&D 5e, those are pretty minor pests, but the version that's in Pathfinder 2e are pretty hefty creatures. Like, so I've actually had to nerf them and make them like child versions that you're fighting, which is still doing some damage apparently. So maybe I've not quite got the numbers right, but I'm at least able to see, okay, this is going to be too difficult for the players. Let's see what we can do to be about what you should be able to do. So that sort of thing's going well.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. You guys caught me out on one session when I was trying to convert loot. You know, given the goal, I mean the D&D 5e version is pretty hefty. It's like, oh yeah, here's like 200 gold or something just for doing some minor thing, and I'm like, nah, I want to give you guys 20 gold instead. So that wasn't too bad. I can just reduce the numbers, but I didn't find that certain gemstones, for example, have very different prices. So when I was like, oh yeah, here's a ruby, and then we look it up on online to see what it is in Pathfinder, and it's like 200,000 gold or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe
like
we're not doing
ruby.
that. Yeah, maybe we're not doing
that. It's like a
that.
real price of a ruby, big chunkin' ruby. It's like, here's this $5,000 rock, and it's like, oh, cool.
Yeah. So I didn't. That was when I was still being a bit naive at things being similar, and they're clearly not. So I've since had to go through the rest of the campaign and be like, oh, okay, gold item, sorry, not gold, coin is fine. I can do that fairly straightforward. And then for anything where it's like an actual item which has some value, it's like, okay, does this exist in some other format? Is it way too much money or way too little equivalent if you were to go and trade it in? What can I replace it with if that's the case? So that's
right.
I mean, because that wasted a good 30 minutes of time, me being panicking that I was giving you guys crazy amounts of money. So I was very keen not to do that again. I'm sure there are going to be other things that come up that I've not explored yet. that are going to cause problems in the converting, but I'm feeling more confident in being able to sort of deal with it when it happens than I was before.
Oh, nice. I'm glad you're getting more comfortable, because like I always thought, like, you ever thought about like maybe we should have just taught ourselves 5e so we can just run the module just the way it is, but I am more like, I think Pathfinder 2 is just a little bit better. But just because I think that's just my biases to Pathfinder, and because I've been playing it for so long, I'm like, yeah, this is what I want. So, you know, I know it's a lot of work on your end, and we definitely do appreciate it.
It's fine. I think that the hard work side of it has been and gone. I mean, I say hard work, I still don't understand magic. I'm slow as a learner. I don't really get it. I think, honestly, I was thinking about, I knew I was going to discuss this at some point, and so I was thinking early about what I was saying. I think, honestly, I need to try using magic as a player before I can start to properly implement it as a GM. So I should probably give that a little try at some point.
Yeah, I'm curious. What do you like? I wanna unpack.
Oh,
it a little bit more.
Yeah. Let's do it, and let's show how completely ignorant I am on the subject, please.
I mean, absolutely. Let's do that.
Okay, yeah. That's what you want.
Oh, no. I'm up for it. It's gonna be funny. Okay, yeah. Ask your question.
So yeah, I mean, I guess like, what is it about running magic that you're finding difficult? Is like keeping track of spells or spell slots or something like that, or
pretty much much. So okay, so let's say you take let's compare physical weapons to magic. So you've got your physical weapon, and it's like, okay, I have a sword which does X amount of damage. I swing it once, swing it twice, and it has, you know, your detriment of like -5 or something. Swing it again, -10 or something. That's fine on that turn. Resets the next time round. With magic, like, so you've got your cantrips and you've got your spells and you've got scrolls and things as well.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't get it. And then you've got raising things to different heights of spell, and it's like, well, like, I can't do that with a sword. You can't just suddenly have a really powerful sword. So how does doing that work? How do you keep track of how many you've got? Which, like, are cantrips, can you do them all the time, or is it like only so many a day? Or like, these are all the questions I'm like, I don't understand the basics.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, magic is at least in the sense of like tabletop RPGs versus like every other medium of what magic exists in, right? It's so different because it's like gamified, right? So it's like they're trying to convert this thing, which is like, you know, you shoot energy beams out of your face or something, into like, you know, basically like ammo, right? If you think about like spell slots, they're just like, or like, I don't know, they're like torpedo bays, right? And you load up whatever ammunitions you want in the torpedo bay, and the torpedo bay is only so big to hold some, like, the spell size, right? And it's like that's just it. It's just kind of like you're kind of like your spells are like your ammunition, and it's like you just gotta kind of launch it out whenever you feel like it's the appropriate time, right? But your cantrips is like something that you could always do. It's basically like akin to swinging your sword, right? It's like
okay.
That cantrips you could do.
Okay, that makes more sense now.
Yeah. So I mean, and like, here's the thing, right? I have an issue with bad guys having the same mechanics for spellcasting as the players, because and this is not a sentiment, I didn't really notice it too bad until Matt Coble brought it up. He's like, why do bad guys need to function the exact same way with spell slots, with garbage spells that nobody needs to know about, right? It's like, if you're fighting a wizard who's like 6th level or something like that, right? Why do you need to know what cantrips he has? When is that wizard in a life or death situation not going to shoot the fireballs all the time? He's going to spam that fireball button until it's over, right? And he's going to go on to his next biggest spell. There's like no reason for that wizard to really have that cantrip, like, actually. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, I think that in terms of like the game design for spellcaster type enemies, I think that you should have like, let's say like 4 spells that you know the thing can do, and just that thing's lifespan is not going to go past, you know, 3 to 5 turns, right? 3 to 5 rounds. So like you're probably going to use, you know, one of each every single time, right? Its turns comes up. So then it's like, if not, you know, the players are in the wizard's face, or some other cantrip or something will take away its voice, or it can't move, so it can't cast that kind of particular spell or something like that. I think it's just better to ignore all the spell slot foolishness if you're a GM, and just find the spells that you want to cast, and then just cast them when you feel like it's appropriate, right? It's just
sounds
easier.
like good advice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just easier, for sure, definitely. And like, honestly, sometimes I don't even have spells. I just come up with an idea and then put a DC on it and just tell people to roll. like,
Yeah, it works for me. I can do that.
Yeah, definitely. It might help you with converting some stuff from D&D. Just take the same raw thing and just convert it to the Pathfinder DCs, and then you're good to go.
Yeah, I think most of the spells that it gives you are for enemies are suggestions, rather than to say this. You know, this enemy has this particular set of spells that they use, so that's not too bad actually. It's pretty lenient in that sense. So I've just been going, okay, here are some Pathfinder spells. Let's drop them onto this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, I don't have to use them, which as of yet I haven't.
Yeah. I mean, even playing
but
a wizard.
no, I think now. Sorry, go on. You first.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, even me playing a wizard, like, I'm using magic missile because I'm like, this spell just works, and I don't have to think about it too hard, and there's not a lot of, you know, rolling and stuff involved. It's just like, shoot the missiles at the dude till it dies, and I move on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
But I could definitely put more effort into it and figure out cool combinations or particularly powerful spells that, you know, for like their spell level or something like that. But I'm like, nah, man, I think it's really cool that Serona shoots magic missiles at people from his gun because he's a cool cowboy and he never misses. Like, that's the kind of like.
That's when you go for the magic.
Yeah, that's why I go for the magic. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, man, magic is hard. Don't think about it too hard. just throw something out.
All right.
And yeah, if your players start to question it, just tell them to get good.
Yeah, the other guy's just better than you, so you can do that.
I mean, that's great, but you are my players.
Tell us to get good. I'm not gonna deny it. I want to be like, you're right, Tim. It sucks to suck. Like,
yeah, we should get good. Yeah, I'm still learning things about magic. I didn't know that cantrips automatically leveled up until like a few months ago. So.
Oh really?
Yeah, man, they're automatically heightened.
That's true. Yeah, because you haven't actually played a spellcaster before, have you, Calvin? Yeah, you barely played spellcasters.
Yeah, only at fairly low levels.
Yeah.
And even my NPC spellcasters have been fairly low level so far. I've been trying to think of like, could I do that? Could I just like ignore the cantrips that a character could have, even a high level character? And I don't think I could do that. I think I would want to know every spell they could do, but you know, that's just me.
I don't know. I just keep spell slots open because, like, let's say if they're a friendly NPC, you know, and they're a high spellcaster, and there's a specific cantrip that I want them to cast, they could just cast it. Like, I have, like, I don't know, like, you know how I just have, like, a reservoir. Like, this person knows X number of spells. I feel confident that I can flim-flam my way into, yes, they know this exact spell for this exact moment, and my players will not question it because, you know, they're big... hat wearing, staff carrying, beard wielding wizard, right? So they're gonna be like, yeah, that makes sense. That dude knows everything. Like, why would we? I'm just like a dude with a knife. How do I know what spells this wizard can break the universe with? I don't know, right? So, yeah, that's just my feelings on it. But yeah, I get what you mean, Tim. I had to deconstruct magic for myself, so it makes it easier to run.
Okay, that's given me a really good place to start on, because when I've tried to look it up, it's pretty much all of the explanations are aimed at people who already understand D&D pretty heavily, and there's, it wasn't sort of like for stupid people making a start. Okay, here's the basics. Here's a bit more of an explanation. Here's a bit more of an explanation that I actually needed. So I think with that understanding, I can actually do a bit more research now. Now I understand the basic principle of it, so that's good to know.
Yeah, honestly, this like running, like doing the tabletop RPG hobby. It's a hobby of, like, you know, where you're actually supposed to be taught by another person, right? Like the rules are so vast and pretty complicated, and it's like you really learn more about like playing and running the game, like with spending time doing it with other people, than you do from reading the actual rules. Like the best way that I learned the game was somebody literally teaching me, right? And it's like playing the game with them and being like, oh, you could actually do this, or this is how you actually read this rule, or, you know, we will look at a rule together. Like, it's like you learn playing this game at the table with your friends, right? It's like that's the way I think it was originally conceived. And, you know, Gygax was I guess yeah, Gary, yeah, I don't know, I'm mistaking it with Gynax for some reason, but
Sure.
Yeah, I was like, no, that's a old anime company that doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, you know, that's the way Gary intended it to be played and learned and stuff like that. So, like, you know, it's all good, Tim. If you don't get something, you know, call up your boys right here, and we'll
Nice.
We'll let you know what we think about it.
All right, thanks.
Yeah. I guess so that might also tie into something that you also wanted to talk about, was sort of the having the mix of experienced and new players in running the game.
Yeah, I think that's been helpful. I mean, obviously you've got you guys as the experienced players. So when I've been like, oh yeah, roll me a acrobatics check, and you guys are like, I'm pretty sure that's an athletics check, and it's like, oh, I wouldn't know. And so stuff like that's been really helpful for me, and it's been good to have you sort of like encourage some of the newer people along. So we've got so that's been good. We've got Chibi, who's been playing about as long as I have, because we both started in the Fateseer campaign that you were running, Calvin. Yeah. So, you know, we've been going for about the same amount of time, and we're both still learning to that extent. And then we've got one of her friends who's joined us, who's playing Fallon, the sort of shield-wielding Captain America-style sailor, who's completely new to it. So we're there trying to make sure that we're being explaining well enough for him, learning for me and Chibi, and then you two and Corey are able to, you know, carry on at the pace that you're used to. So I wouldn't say it's hard managing that. I think I'm really fortunate that you guys all seem to get along well enough. You know, it's not we've not ended up with someone who's being like really stingent with the rules, or who wants to do their own thing no matter what else the party wants to do. And that's honestly, that's really helpful, because that'd be difficult to run, and I don't think we'd have a good time if that happened.
Yeah. I think what we do is we have the confidence to split the party, which we do quite often.
The overconfidence.
Which I know.
Yes.
We have the
have that.
overconfidence. The amount of times where we're all just like, we're just gonna do our own thing, and everybody's cool with it, and you're like, oh damn. Like,
Nah, it's fine with me.
Yeah.
That was definitely one of the things that I had to learn earlier on. I mean, Calvin, you touched on earlier how when you were going around the town, we were kind of taking it in turns, using the initiative order to do that, and that really came about from when you first split the party, and I was like trying to give some people a bit of time to do a few actions and role play, transfer over, and it came about quite quickly that I was giving people too long to do stuff, which meant that the rest of the players were waiting ages to have a go, and that's not fun for them. So using the initiative order means that we can keep it so everyone's still taking the turns pretty everyone's able to do the things that they want to do, and I think that's working quite well.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, definitely. I think that's that's like the drawback from splitting the party, right? It's like the benefit. Like, so the benefit of it is that, honestly, if you have two like major story, like two things happening at once, like a combat and like a, I don't know, like an interrogation or something, or like some revelatory thing. I found I had a lot of success with it during our pirate campaign. I'm running for Calvin and like my wife and their friends, it's like it was really great because the players that were in the combat were really excited to listen in on what the other players were doing, and vice versa, right? So I mean, even when it was taking a little bit of time to get back to everyone's turn. I know that for myself, when the party is split, I'm trying to keep myself as engaged to what other players are trying to accomplish, right? Trying to ride their highs and lows just the same, even though I'm not really like gonna be able to interact with them, right? So I'm down for it. More people should split the party. It makes more sense than like 5 dudes standing in a room that only needs one dude to do a thing.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, no, I totally get it. But don't stop. We're never gonna stop. We're always gonna split the party, probably, because that's just apparently what we do.
Yeah, I think the initiative thing just really helps for like jumping between people, because you don't have to like question who to go to next. But yeah, again, we are gonna keep splitting that party, no matter how terrible an idea it is for us.
No, it's fine. I'll kill you all eventually.
Yeah, that's the attitude. That's what I'm saying.
There it
Tim.
is.
There it is.
That's how you know you're a GM.
Yeah, it warms my heart to hear those words come out of your mouth. Like, actually, it's like I'm so proud. Right. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Speaking of the game running smoothly, we do also have that one get out clause for Ramon, which I do want to talk about because it's just really fun. Silrona, our cowboy wizard, being able to disappear into the cowboy dimension every now and then, so we can go do whatever he does down there and then come back. Yeah. Did you want to talk about like the conception of that a bit from your perspective? Because I think I did talk to Ramon about it a bit. I don't know if you wanted to say anything about it.
We can do. I mean, it was mostly Ramon's conception, where I think how did it start? You came to me and you're like, I'm just not going to be able to make it for some sessions, weren't you?
Yeah. I was being frank. I was like, hey, I really want to be a part of the game, but I don't think I'm going to be able to make every single session just because of like scheduling my life. But I don't want to rip my character completely out of the story, so I came up with a silly idea, and I'm glad that you ran with it. So you can definitely, if you're playing like a magical character, you could definitely just kind of be like, here's some weird magic stuff, and then poof.
Sometimes they're gone for a bit.
Yeah. I mean when we very first did it, it wasn't quite that far yet. I think because that's the session before you messaged me after that session, where you had to leave halfway through the session, and we just was like, oh, okay, Silrona's gonna run off and buy a hat, and the rest of the party's gonna do their own thing, and then you left the rest of that session, and that was how it kind of started. So that probably laid the groundwork for it. I guess if other people are having the same conundrum, maybe getting summoned to another plane is more convenient than you guys are in the middle of the wilderness and you're trekking back to wherever, and then one player can't make it. So something like that, unexpected, not in their control, maybe makes a bit more sense to your story than that player or that character's like, oh, by the way, I'm just gonna run off to this other place by myself. You guys go on ahead.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's the thing too, right? So that's why I had to figure out for my like West Marches style campaign I was running for Path of Inion. So it's like, they're like all of the players. I have like a pretty big group. There was like 6 players now, and I was like, whoever can make it. We'll do like mission style. So it's like, they would go out and do a thing, but at the end of the session, no matter what happened, they would have to retreat and go back to town. So it gave me an excuse to be like, where was this person? They, what happened to them? It's like, oh, they were just back in town, right? So, I appreciate you being flexible and allowing me to kind of jump in and jump out whenever, like jump out of the campaign whenever I'm not going to be able to make a session. And I think that like, I think before it was cool for players to play other people's characters, right? Because that's what I think I would do if people are comfortable with that. Like just have them kind of maybe not play as optimally, but be like, what would this character reasonably do, and then roll the dice for them, right? But it's like, you also don't want anything bad to happen to that player's character because it feels weird. Or it's like they come back and it's like, sorry, man, triple crit, you got beheaded, it's over. Like, like,
yeah, I think that was my main reason against having someone else play your character. I mean, I did give you the condition with this get out clause that every time your character poofs back in, you have to give us spin a yarn of what happened while you were in other dimension. And I think that's a totally reasonable thing to put. It's like, you miss a session, you got to give us a good story.
Yeah, which is just fair, and I'm totally fine to oblige. I think that's a good trade-off for sure.
And so far so good with those stories. So.
Yeah. Actually, one of the funniest moments is when I think actually Kevo and Solrona were missing from the previous session, and then it was like we're introducing our characters back in. And Solrona poofed back in, but like on top of Teague's because she was wearing the
horseshoe,
the horseshoe, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, and then it was like, where's Kevo? And Kevo literally like, because he's a miner, he's like mining around the place in all these caves, and the players are just in a cave, right? So then he just kind of like cracked through the ground or something and popped up, and he was like, oh hey, you guys are here. Like, I was just mining and I got lost.
that was not my intention at all. My intention was, because I knew I was going to say you guys were in late, and I actually gave you the wrong time zone, so it was my fault that you guys were late, or rather it was my fault we all started an hour early without you. But the way I wanted it to be, because we left Kevo in town, he was going to be like, I don't know, running after you guys trying to catch up, and he's like, oh, there's a thing happening back in town, and then you guys like, Kevo just pops up underneath. It's like, right, let's go with that. That's a good idea. Let's do it.
Yeah. So I mean, as you got a couple, you got like 9 games underneath your belt. Do you feel like more comfortable with all of the improv shenanigans?
100%.
Okay.
I'm not just comfortable doing it for the remainder of what's in this book. I would like to carry on with, this campaign, but with my own created content afterwards, if people are still interested in that, as well as running other games. So I am 100% in.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Yeah, I'm excited for that. Tim, I want to also mention for me, I had to solidify the reason why I enjoy your game so much. I think it's because there's like this balance of goofy, fun, wackiness, from all the characters and like all the silly kind of character interactions that happen. Like, I don't know.
I mean, I can't take credit for that's all you and the rest of the players.
Right. But I still feel it's like even when our characters are, doing the kind of silliness to the NPCs, you're pretty receptive about it, and it's like the whole time we're all having fun, right? So definitely like an upbeat atmosphere. But then, Tim, you have like a crazy good way of describing detail that makes me feel
Really?
like I'm actually there. You're like, yeah, like sometimes when it's like mad I want to say visceral. Like it's like all of a sudden, like we go from like, you know, we're hanging out, you know, you're watching some cartoons, and all of a sudden Berserk comes on, and I'm like, oh damn, I'm also down for this, but oh damn, like it's like I don't know. It feels like for me as a DM, I never describe like violence really. I just say like the hit lands or like you do a cool move or whatever, right? It's always kind of stuff like that. But like I like really appreciate the detail you go into some stuff, and like it actually like backtracks me being like, wait, I'm actually hurting something. I should probably, you know, try like knowing that like, you know, violence is happening to somebody. It's like maybe I only should really use violence as a last resort. It's so weird. It's such a weird thing. I might be the only one who thinks about this, but it's like always in my mind when we're playing, which is why I like it. Yeah, like because it's like, oh man, especially like you do like sounds and smells, and it's like, ooh, ooh.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this like every single time we talk about Tim's game, but yeah, I do also like really appreciate those descriptions. I hadn't really thought about it from the character's perspective. I think because Teeks is just more prone to violence than Sulrona is. So for me, it was more like Teeks is more like getting into that sort of thing. Like it's just like really activating some sort of deep evil witch instinct inside of her that's just being really pulled along by those sudden moments of causing extreme harm to something or freezing it solid.
Yeah, but yeah, no, but again, I'm not saying this to be like, I'm comfortable with it, right? And I think everybody else is comfortable with it, but it's something that I appreciate because it's like, for me, it's like, I don't do that in my own games, but I appreciate the level of detail you go into, right?
I think I think that's mainly come from, 'cause, at first when you're like, Tim, you go into detail, and I'm there thinking, what? I have no idea what I'm doing when I'm talking about the landscape you're in or anything else. And then you start to talk about the fights, and I'm like, oh, I know what he's talking about now. I think that comes down to, like, let's say you're in a real fight, and you know you've got a sword, they've got a sword, and you're at like 1 HP of damage because they've cut you into ribbons. It's like you're bleeding out internally. If that's the case, you're not going to be able to swing your sword as if nothing happened. You know, as if everything's absolutely fine, and then you lose that 1 HP and you're just dead. So I try to bring a bit of that into the, you know, still keep the game mechanics, but that's why it's like, okay, if you guys shoot an arrow or something, you do really well, and it's like, oh, and it lands in his throat, and now the guy's got to, like, you know, use one of his hands to cover his throat to stop bleeding out while trying to fend you off. That kind of thing, where it's not just a bit more realistic, but it also gives either the player or the enemy a hindrance that might make the battle more interesting. So instead of you guys just doing the same, you know, magic missile over and over again, maybe it's going to encourage you to do something else, or I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's cool, and I like that I mean, so as much as we're like, we should probably pay more attention to the rules, but it's like, I like how loose things are, right? Like I like that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's still within the rules, but it just how to do that as well. You know, maybe there's an additional effect that comes with it. It's not happened yet, but I guess you know, you could have the same happen in reverse. You know, maybe something good happens, but done in this, you know, chained with this other thing, it works in your favor and does something else as well.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's little narrative, like little parts where it's like, you know, where somebody gets hit, like how they get hit, how that hinders them. Like it just feels like I like it. It's loose. It's still fun with the rules, but it's like at to the point where it's like it feels real and messy, like how it would be if you're being like attacked by like an owl bear hybrid. Right, yeah. And like having like this actual physical now pile of meat just in front of you, and you're like, oh god, what do we do with it? Like, you know what I mean? Like all that kind of stuff, right? And like the horrors of like actually kind of being around a dead body, right? Like it's all kind of bad.
Well, I mean, when specifically Bren, not you guys, specifically Bren is like, okay, and I finish him off by punching my fist straight through his skull, and it's like, okay, you do that, but now your hand is covered in brain matter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. It's just
Yeah,
everything is just
You told me what was happening. You're gonna suffer the consequences.
Yeah, it makes me like want to choose my wording properly. So it's like this poor person doesn't just get like, you know, I don't know, a horrible death from like being on fire or something, especially because I'm playing like a wizard. So like,
So that is gonna happen
right.
anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
But yeah, like that thing you have to think about, like when you're abstracting like the mechanics into the story, like what do hit points mean for a person? If someone loses 5 hit points, what does that mean? Like what has happened to their body physically? Yeah, that's just one of the things I guess you have to think about and describe as you're going along with that. Which again, just really enjoying that sort of thing. I'm like I tend to describe like actions more so than consequences, like the direction someone attacks and how it goes and things like that. But yeah, I guess there's different approaches to that same sort of thing of like, how do you make losing 5 hit points like not just a game thing, but a physical, quote unquote, real world thing.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm into
I mean,
it.
if people want to carry on with the rules as well, you don't have to do the things like I do, where it's like, oh, okay, you know, now this person's restricted to this, that, or the other. You know, maybe you're just describing where they got attacks and like, oh, they stagger back as just part of a bonus move or something. And it's just like, oh, okay, you've now got this cut along your face, which might make some interesting character development, you know, especially if they're a really vain character that prides their looks, and you've done that. There's no, like, combat issue from it, but maybe there's room for something else instead.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, I tend to describe stuff as, like, if it's, like, you know, like a sword on sword fight, like it's like every strike or whatever, like kind of like, you know, the movie Minor Strikes, right? But it's like when the character gets down to 0 HP, that's like the final blow, right? That's like the, you know, you stab him through the heart, or like you land that critical hit at a, you know, sword through the gut, then the person drops over, and then it's like, okay, that's the end of it, right? But yeah, you know, I think that's like, how do you contextualize HP and all of that kind of stuff into, you know, like from the game and into describing into your narrative to kind of fulfill that this is your characters, like you are in you are in your character, right? Kind of keeping that, what's that word? I forget. It's like when you forget that you're watching a movie, but I totally forgot what it's called. But you're so engrossed into it that you forget that this is like a fake medium, right? It's like this is all
immersion,
right? You don't want to break. Yeah, it's a very immersive when that kind of stuff happens, and it gets me more into the game than pulls me out of it, if anything.
Yeah, certainly more so than like you rolled the higher number and you rolled some damage thing. I mean, again, like I was gushing about last time, like. That's the thing you can just get from a video game, but from a tabletop RPG, you can get so much more out of that. But speaking of mechanics, so Tim, I was just wondering, like, so it sounds like you're feeling a lot more comfortable with the mechanics itself, as well as feeling more comfortable with, like, improvising stuff. Any specific thing that you've any specific, like, hill you've crested over that you want to mention, or anything that seemed difficult at first that you're finding way easier now?
Good question.
Or is it just like in general you're feeling better with it?
I mean, definitely in general, but it's been a whole learning experience. I mean, the first session I was so frantic, like, are the players going to enjoy it? Am I doing it right? What are all these stats that I'm just now in a panic because the players just asked me to do something and I can't remember the things that I'm supposed to do. And then taking ages to find the resource because I'm not familiar with that, has gone to, okay, people are enjoying it now. Don't worry about the style. Let's get a bit more into the what, the why, the how, and then tackle those. So, and I think just whenever something goes wrong, or I've found something difficult, or a player's asked a difficult question, after the session, it's like, okay, go and try and research that. Go and make sure that if that happens again, you're more prepared for it. As players, you guys are always, throwing things my way that I'm never going to expect. So I'm never going to be 100% prepared. But I can at least know how you play and then have a better idea of what I need to keep in mind.
So yeah, you just need to like just know. You just need to know the mechanics around other people's characters, basically, at some point. Maybe
not necessarily even the player's characters, because it might not be something about what that character's doing as a fighting or something else that they have the ability to do, but maybe it's they ask a question about exploring something around the town, or how long does it take to do this, or something else. Honestly, it could be anything. So I guess it's just a case of, okay, there's a thing I don't know, make sure you go and look it up. It wasn't so much about what the characters do, it's more like, I've got a reasonable gauge on the sort of things that you guys enjoy and what you might want to do,
right?
And I can plan with that with you as players. So with a different set of players, I might be having to plan this differently.
Right. Okay.
That's my thought process at the minute. You guys might. I might start playing the next session and be like, oh, I was so wrong.
No, I mean,
this is a bad idea.
So
I think you're going well with it so far, at least in my
Yeah, you're doing good. But yeah, no, I totally understand your feeling. I have that epiphany, like, oh God, what have I done?
Yeah,
all the time.
I mean, I definitely started that way when you introduced Deputy, and it was like, oh God, I gave him that familiar. I never told him what he was supposed to do with the rat familiar, and now he's got a talking rat. Like, to me, it was just obvious that you were going to ask, what does he do? And no, you came up with the next session with everything prepped.
Those 3 a.m. epiphanies, my friends.
of talking deputy rats. Those are the best ones. So yeah, one last thing I wanted to cover, because we're coming up on we're over an hour now.
Sure.
We could go on forever, but I really wanted to talk about, like, if you wanted to say anything about any sort of like homebrew campaign or a custom storyline or something that you might want to do after this. Like, I don't know if you want to say any like specifics of what you're planning, but I'm really sort of curious as to sort of like what's going on in there, like what do you want to do with that, or is there something you've picked up on that you want to cover, or has something inspired you, or just talk about it in vague terms, because I'm probably going to be in that campaign because I really want to be in that campaign.
Okay, so there's 4 things. So there's the extension to, whatever happens with The Lost Man in Phandelver once you've finished the published storyline. I've started laying the groundwork with that, so, you've got history fatigues, where she's never met a mother, sort of thing. We've kind of hinted at that with the Banshee, so we've started getting stuff ready for there. That's going to be that kind of thing. From your friend Becca's game, where she did the whole high school stuff that you guys have talked about before, and I know she's mentioned recently about that she's hoping to run another session, which I'm dying to hear about because it sounds great. But that inspired me with the Dungeons, Dragons and Dating sort of game, where it's it's Dungeons and Dragons sort of, or general tabletop, but it's like, okay, your character now has to woo someone instead of something else. Like, I just think it's going to be really funny to make you romance things instead of fighting them.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yes.
oh my God.
Yes.
So I don't even have a specific. The only idea I've really got at the minute is like, oh, okay, yeah, you've got a banshee who's like, a ghostly form is still stuck on this mortal coil because she never dated in life, and it's left her soul just angry and stuck here. So, to get to the gold that's in the next chamber, you guys have all got to take turns like seducing her on a date, like wine her and dine her and stuff, and flatter her and things. And, whoever wins is gonna be like, she's gonna be like, "Oh, you've released me from my peril. I can move on now, happy knowing that I've found true love." And then you guys are like, "Okay,
Thanks for the gold.
just gonna take this goblet now."
Nice. It's like
And that
it's
is
like,
that. I mean, it's yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. I mean, it's like high school host club, but like D&D, where it's like it's a bunch of room full
Yeah.
of hot boys, and it's like, oh, I have problems, and the hot boys, don't worry about
Yeah.
those problems, girl.
Yeah. So it was the whole. I really liked how Becca's doing the whole sort of like social points, and you doing this thing with other people, and that was kind of got me onto the, well, what else do you do in high school? Like you say, high school host club, love it. So it kind of got me onto this whole track. So yeah, that's one of the ideas.
Yeah.
I would be 100% up for doing a Bionicle based game. Bionicle is like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings. It has huge amounts of lore. So I would want to give people original characters in a period of time that's a bit more. It's not locked down in the lore exactly. So we've got a bit more room to play with ideas. We're not constrained on certain things happening, because obviously, you know, if you play as official characters and you die in the campaign, well, you've messed up with the storyline. I mean, I guess you could do an alternate universe thing, but there's neither here nor there. The fourth thing Ramon knows about. Ramon, is that a secret to keep, or do I tell Calvin now?
No, you can
Oh, is
tell
there
Calvin.
secrets?
Sure.
Okay, Calvin, you
Yo.
need to finish watching JoJo.
I actually saw. I think it's episode
wanted-
4 this morning, so I'm starting to
Okay.
watch it more now.
Okay, I want to play a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure RPG
You know,
without question.
I was
100%.
watching it, and I'm watching like he's starting to learn his cool breathing blood powers
Hamon,
now. Yeah,
yeah.
his Hamon powers now. And I was like, oh man, that'd be a cool monk thing to do, like maybe a custom monk stance.
Yeah,
I think I need to
Yeah.
watch more of the show before I write something up.
100%, 100%. Finish, just finish the entire thing. Just finish
Yeah.
the entire thing. But yeah, you know, take a few days off work, binge watch it, thank me later.
Yeah.
But yeah, something like that I'd be really interested in doing. Chibi 100% will be on board with this.
I'm also down. I want to.
Yeah, you as well, Ramon. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I've got no idea how it'll work. I know there's people who've done things about it already. Again, like Bionicle, I'd be thinking probably original characters rather than existing ones, but we can see how it goes.
Oh, I mean, like, for sure. I didn't like, because I didn't know much about the show, so I did not at all expect the time period that at least the episodes I've seen so far are taking place in. So it's been a lot of like, oh, I'm very tempted to take a lot of ideas from this.
Oh, Calvin, you don't even know the half of it.
I
Not
feel like I
even,
don't. I
actually.
feel like I'm
Oh, man.
there's so much for me to experience now.
You're like at the precipice of the abyss. Like you will fall over and just continue falling into JoJo's. Like it's almost really hard to get out of it. Like, it's so good.
Muda.
I definitely want to like yoink that mask for something, so I gotta know what's going on with it. So I gotta watch more episodes.
Okay, you'll need the Phantom. No, not the Phantom Blood. Battle Tendency line to understand it more.
Yeah. What does that even mean to you, Calvin?
I don't know yet.
It doesn't mean anything. You're gonna learn.
Well, everybody listening out there, if you want to hear more about me watching JoJo at some point, I'll probably I'll squeeze in a couple more today. It's become my new show to watch when I have a moment like where I'm not doing something specific. So I'm shifting out Simpsons and I'm watching that now, a show that I actually have to pay attention to. So if you want to, hear about me watching shows, or more importantly, hear more about some tabletop RPG stuff, more about Tim's campaign, and just more about playing RPGs, running RPGs, various experiences with them. We definitely want to have more people on the show to talk about more, like, different things than just, like, us two talking about our own experiences over and over again. We want to have more people on there to talk about that kind of thing. So, for sure, something we're going to be doing in the future. And, of course, we're going to talk about Pathfinder, Lancer, Starfinder, Mutants and Masterminds, if we can squeeze it in. Speaking of Mutants and Masterminds, of course, I want to give another shout out to the USP channel, where I'm there every week playing a superhero on their Mutants and Masterminds campaign using the Nether War adventure. Although we have made like significant changes to it. We've only gone through like the first two books at this point, and we've been playing for several sessions because we keep getting sidetracked with our own personal stuff. We're definitely going to delve more into that. So I hope nothing crazy happens in the third book, because it's going to have to wait, because we have some personal soap opera stuff to deal with.
My past is catching up to me.
Basically. So yeah, shout out to that channel. Go check those out on Mondays, 7 p.m. EST. And of course, come here every Wednesday at 12 EST to see a new episode of the podcast. I think that's about everything. Oh yeah, check us out on the social media. You know how to do that. We're on Twitter at WinWithDice, our website, winwithdice.ca. We actually do have some custom artwork drawn by one of our players up on our site, so you can go check that out too.
Ooh, I'll have to look at that as well. I didn't realize you had that.
Oh yeah. The art that should be, I think she posted in our Discord. Just put it up on the site for people to check out.
Oh, is that up? Excellent.
Yeah. So yeah, if you want to see that, you can go check it out. I'll link it below, so you can go right to it. But I think that is about everything for this episode, unless you two have something else you want to say.
Well, I wanted to say, click that subscribe button and hit the bell notification so when we go live with Lancer, whenever we can. We're on about like a every 2 to 3 weeks rotation of streaming Lancer. We're trying to get it to be more often, but the scheduling is hard. But yeah, we're at the the last moments. I think this will be the last session for mission number, we're at 3,
I believe it's 3.
Yeah, mission 3. So we're right at the conclusion of that, and check it out when we go live in the future, whenever that is.
Yeah, we fought some giant monsters last time, so really you should check out that episode. Tim, do you have anything you want to add before we head off?
No, I think you've forgotten to mention something though.
Oh, have I? Oh, of course. The one most important thing. My last bit of advice for everybody out there listening to this show is to keep on winning with dice. And we'll see you next week.
See you guys.